The Xeran scout ship Kareth drifted silently through deep space, its long silver frame gliding past Saturn's rings. The mission was simple: observe Earth, collect data, and report back. The Galactic Council had sent probes to thousands of worlds. Earth, they believed, would be easy. Inside the ship, Commander Rixer stared at the main screen. Blue and green, Earth looked peaceful, like a small garden floating in the void. The scanner reports were even more interesting. No orbital defense grid, said Tech Officer Belth, eyes locked on a glowing screen. Only a few satellites. Most are communication units, not weapons. Rixer raised one brow. And the fleet? Belth snorted. A joke. A few space stations. One patrol cruiser, all old models. Not even cloaking tech. Their planet looks completely open. The crew laughed. Earth, the so-called Death World, was nothing more than a fragile shell. I thought this was the species that scared the Junari Empire, said one of the younger soldiers, amused. Stories, Rixer said. Rumors and myths. Earth stayed out of the Galactic Council for decades. We thought it was because they didn't trust us. Now I think they were just scared. He tapped his claws against the metal table. Begin full-spectrum scans. I want to know everything. Military bases, ground-to-space weapons, anything they could be hiding. Belth nodded and activated the scanners. Beams of invisible light raced toward Earth. Data flowed in. Odd, he said after a few minutes. I'm not detecting any. Large fusion cores. No plasma arrays. Just old missiles and kinetic guns. Not even orbital cannons. Then it settled, said Rixer. They're weak. Their technology is 2 centuries behind. If we wanted, we could take the planet in 2 days. But just as he said it, a faint pulse blinked on the side screen. Wait, Belth said, frowning. There's interference. Our scans are distorting. From what? Rixer asked. Belth's fingers flew across the controls. Unknown. Something is jamming the signal. But not from the surface. From behind the planet, the ship rotated slowly. The moon came into view, gray, lifeless, familiar. But behind it, a blur. What is that? Rixer stood. Zoom in. The screen. Focused. Nothing appeared. Just stars. No. I saw something, Belth whispered. Only for a second. The ship's lights flickered. A low hum passed through the floor. System pulse? Rixer asked. Belth shook his head. No, that came from outside. Then it happened again. A vibration soft, like a heartbeat passed. Through space itself. The crew fell silent. A red light blinked. The scan probe they had sent toward Earth's orbit vanished. One moment it was transmitting. The next, it was gone. No explosion, Belth said, voice shaky. No impact. It just disappeared. Rixer's jaw tightened. Send another. A second probe launched. It moved carefully, slow, and silent. Everyone watched. 10 seconds. Passed 20, then nothing. The signal dropped. 2 probes. Gone without a trace, Rixer said coldly. Can Earth do that? Not with the weapons we've scanned, Belth said. It's like they were swallowed. Another signal flared. The Kareth's own systems flickered again. Navigation reset. Weapons went offline for 2 seconds, then came back. I don't like this, said the pilot. We're being watched. I can feel it. Belth's eyes widened. There's something big out there. Rixer stared out the front window. How big? Big enough that it hides in plain sight. Big enough to be a ghost in space. Then why can't we see it? Rixer demanded. Belth whispered, because maybe it doesn't want us to. The crew stared at the planet again. Earth looked so quiet, so weak, but now they weren't sure anymore. A final alert blinked. Incoming signal from Earth. Word, observe. Rixer's blood turned cold. Earth knew. Asterisk, the command room of the Careth was no longer filled with laughter. Commander Rixer stood still, his arms behind his back, eyes locked on the empty space around Earth. The words still echoed through the ship's speakers, observe. It was a message, a warning, or an invitation. Replay the signal, Rixer ordered. Belth tapped the console. The message appeared again, only this time in a soft, monotone voice. Human. Calm. Observe. The pilot, a younger officer named Trask, leaned in. Sir, I've got a bad feeling. Feelings don't matter, Rixer replied sharply. Launch the recon drone. Manual control. Send it toward Earth's southern hemisphere. Stay above the clouds. Belth hesitated. The last two probes vanished. Rixer nodded. That's why this one will stay visible. We'll watch it through every lens. If something removes it, we'll see it happen. Within seconds, the drone launched. The camera feed appeared on the main screen. A smooth glide over Earth's bright oceans. Large cities sparkled below New York, Tokyo, Cape Town, all peaceful. No defense turrets, no energy shields. Just a world spinning in quiet harmony. Still no anti-air defenses, Belth muttered. This drone should be picked up on radar, yet they're not reacting. They're not even trying to shoot it down, Trask added. Maybe they don't care, said Rixer, narrowing his eyes. The drone moved over Antarctica now, showing nothing but ice and storms. As it banked left toward South America, the screen turned black. No signal. No warning. No explosion. Just darkness. Feed lost. Belth shouted. It was fine a second ago. Trask's hands shook. We had direct control. We saw it flying. Bring back the footage, Rixer snapped. Belth rewound the video, frame by frame. The feed went dark between two frames. No flash, no interference, like the drone simply blinked out of existence. I'm running a system scan, Belth said, pale. Maybe it's a malfunction. But he already knew. This wasn't mechanical. Something was removing their tech silently. Rixer sat down slowly. This planet has no visible defense system. Yet our probes vanish, and they know we're here. And still they allow us to stay. Trask leaned closer to the viewport. Sir, maybe they're trying to show us something. Like what? Rixer growled. But then, something moved in the distance, not on the screen outside the window. Everyone turned. In the dark void above Earth's horizon. A shape shimmered just for a second. Not solid, not metal, just a curve. A shadow that did not belong to any star or planet. It's massive, Trask whispered. That wasn't a rock. No, Rixer said coldly. That was a ship. Then why didn't we see it before? Belth's voice shook. Because it's hidden with something beyond cloaking. This isn't stealth tech. This is silence itself. Rixer rose. Silence? Yes, Belth said. Space around Earth, it's not just empty. It's quiet. Unnaturally quiet. No radiation leaks. No ing fields. No static. That's not how space behaves. It's like we're in a bubble. Rixer turned toward the bridge doors. That means someone built it. Someone who controls space itself. Trask swallowed hard. Sir, I think Earth is letting us scan them. They're allowing us to believe we're in control. And if we try anything more, Belth added, we may not be allowed to leave. Suddenly, the ship's lights dimmed again. This time, it wasn't just flickering. The screens showed static. Internal sensors scrambled. Weapon systems blinked offline for a full 10 seconds. No alarms. No sounds. No attack. Silence. Then, the screens came back. One image filled every display. It wasn't Earth. It was the moon. But not how the Zerans knew it. This image showed a structure buried beneath the surface, gigantic, circular, with pulsing rings of light. A voice followed. Calm, female, human, do not fear. But do not lie to yourselves either. Everyone froze. The ship hadn't received a signal dot. It had been injected into their systems. They didn't know how. They didn't know from where. But one thing was now clear. Earth had been watching them since the moment they arrived, and it was only just beginning to show its power. Asterisk. The crew of the Careth stood in stunned silence. The moon dot, it was no longer just a lifeless rock in the sky. It had revealed its truth, a buried structure beneath its surface, glowing with rings of light. A machine. A warning. A message delivered directly into their systems without any transmission. Without permission. Commander Rixer clenched his fists. Show me that image again, he said. Belth hesitated. Sir, it's not in our files. The system doesn't show any download. It just appeared, and now it's gone. Gone? Rixer repeated, eyes narrowing. Yes, our data core has no trace of the message. Not even a shadow in the memory logs. That's impossible, Trask said. No, Belth said slowly, his voice low. It's not. Not if Earth controls systems beyond our understanding. The crew exchanged uneasy glances. We need to know what's under that moon, Rixer ordered. Run deep scan resonance mapping. Use high-frequency radar. I want a full layout. Yes, Commander, Belth said, fingers flying across the control panel. As the ship sent out its pulse toward the moon. The screen showed the standard rock shell. But then a second layer appeared. Smooth, metallic, perfect in shape. Rings, tunnels, caverns. That didn't match natural formation. Then came the third layer. It lit up before the scan could finish. Lines of light, blinked alive, thousands of them, tracing across the entire subsurface like nerves waking from deep sleep. Oh no, Belth whispered. We activated something. The ship shook gently, not from an explosion, not from impact, but from vibration. Something's responding, Trask said, hands tight on the pilot controls. Another signal appeared, not a voice. Countdown. It began at 300 seconds and started ticking down. Is it a weapon? Trask asked, panicked. Or a scan back, Belth said. They're scanning us now far deeper than we scanned them. On the screen, a web of light appeared under the moon's surface. Giant rings began to rotate slowly at first, then faster. Each rotation gave off a low hum that echoed through the Careth's hull. Suddenly, everything stopped. The countdown froze at 003, and a single word blinked onto their main screen. Understood. The room was quiet again. Rixer stared at the screen, then turned to Belth. What does it mean? I think it means they finished reading us. Our technology, our purpose, our weapons. Everything. Trask whispered, and they let us leave. Rixer didn't like the sound of that. They wanted us to know what's buried inside their moon, he said. They showed us on purpose. And now, they're waiting to see what we do next. Before anyone could respond, a shadow moved across space. Not a small ship, not even a large one. A structure. A massive, moon-sized object drifted out from the dark side of Earth. It had no engines, no lights, just a deep black surface that absorbed starlight. It looked dead, ancient, silent. But the ship's sensors screamed with readings. Sir, Belth yelled, that's not a station. It's a warship, a class we've never seen before. There's no entry records in the entire Council database. And it was hidden there the whole time? Rixer asked. Belth nodded. They call Earth defenseless, but they've built their defense inside silence itself. No signals, no emissions. We would have never seen it unless they wanted us to. Trask stared at the shape, trembling. It's not just a ship, It's a warning. This is what we keep in the dark. A new message appeared on their screen. Return. Home. Tell them what you saw. This was your first and final approach. Rixer took a step forward. Should we retreat? Trask asked, but Rixer didn't answer. He kept staring at the ship, at Earth, at the moon that was not a moon, and the cold silence around them felt heavier than before, not because Earth weak, but because it had never needed to speak loudly. Asterisk. Everything was quiet again on the Careth. Too quiet. The alien crew didn't speak. They only watched as the massive black warship drifted slowly from the shadows of Earth. No lights. No engines. Just darkness floating across the stars. Commander Rixer's claws tapped against the edge of the control panel. They told us to leave, Trask whispered. Should we go? Rixer didn't answer. He was staring at the screen, eyes locked on the strange warship. It was shaped like no other vessel he'd ever seen, round, smooth, and cold. Its surface looked like it drank light. The sensors couldn't. Scan it. Even the ship's basic readings returned static. No, Rixer finally said. They want us to leave because they want us to be afraid. They've already shown us too much, Belth added, voice tense. The moon's a machine. Their probes are vanishing things. That ship is something old. Just then, a new alert flashed on the screen. Incoming transmission. Origin. Earth, no known source. The crew braced, but there was no voice this time. Only a live video feed. The camera showed a dark space, possibly inside the mysterious black warship. A single human stood in the center of the frame. Tall, calm, hands behind his back. He wore no armor, no weapon. Just a plain black suit with a silver Earth emblem on the chest. Behind him, light slowly filled the room, revealing rows of tall figures like statues. But they were not statues. They were Terran warriors, motionless, armored, faceless. The human looked directly into the camera. And then he spoke. You came here to measure Earth's weakness. Now let us show you a taste of our strength. The video ended. At that moment, every screen aboard the Careth flickered, and outside the ship, space twisted. The stars bent. It looked like a tear had opened in space itself. Then something crawled through it. A ship faster than their sensors could lock onto. It raced past the Careth, close enough to shake the hull. What was that? Trask yelled. Fast. No heat signature. No ion trail, Belth said in shock. It outran light for a few seconds. More ships appeared. Silent, black, sharp, hundreds. Of them unfolding from nowhere, surrounding the Careth, but not attacking. Not a single weapon was fired. They're not targeting us, Belth said, stunned. They're showing off. Another ship passed. This one phased through a small asteroid and came out the other side, undamaged. They can control matter density, Belth whispered. That's impossible. No, Rixer replied coldly. It's not impossible. Not for them. It's a message. On the main screen, Earth rotated peacefully. No weapons were fired. No fleet made demands. Earth didn't need to threaten. It simply showed what it could do. That was the demonstration, Rixer said. This, all of it, was to make sure we understood. A final message blinked on the screen. Return. Speak the truth. The silence is our defense. Then every Terran ship vanished. Instantly. Like smoke in the wind. The stars returned. The space was quiet again. But the silence now felt heavy, like standing in the presence of something ancient and dangerous. Rixer finally turned away from the screen. Prepare the jump drive. We leave at once. Trask looked over. And if the Council asks what we saw, we tell them, Rixer said. Every word, every warning. Earth isn't weak. It's patient. And it's untouchable because it never Needed walls. The Careth turned slowly, its engines glowing. No more probes. No more scans. Only one order remained. Do not return. Asterisk. The Careth drifted in hyperspace, heading away from Earth at maximum speed. No one on board spoke. The silence wasn't from fear. It was from understanding. Commander. Rixer sat alone in the observation room, staring out the wide glass pane into the shifting tunnels of light. His claws tapped slowly on the armrest. The memory of that Terran voice still echoed in his head. The silence is our defense. What kind of civilization uses silence as a weapon? What kind of power chooses not to strike? Behind him, Belf entered, holding a datapad tightly. Commander? I pulled fragments from the signal Earth sent us. You said it was deleted. Belf nodded. It was. But our backup node recorded Echo's faint digital shadows. I cleaned them. Look at this. He handed the pad to Rick's AR. It showed images old, cracked photographs, maps, records in ancient Terran languages, and clearer images, blueprints of ships. Not like the ones they'd seen far older, but still powerful. What am I looking at? Rixer asked. Belf looked uneasy. History. Forgotten even by the Council. He tapped the pad again, and video played. A grainy black and white recording showed 5 Terran ships battling an entire armada above a planet that no longer exists on modern charts. The Terran ships were outnumbered 1 to 400. They still won. The video ended. Silence returned. This isn't a new Earth fleet, Belf said slowly. This is a return. Rixer frowned. Return? Yes, Belf continued. Earth used to rule a portion of the galaxy, thousands of years ago. But they erased themselves from all records. Not because they were defeated, but because they chose to vanish. Trask entered, overhearing. Why would a powerful species erase its own empire? Rixer's eyes stayed locked on the datapad. Because power attracts fear, and fear brings war. If Earth wanted peace, disappearing was the only option. Belf nodded. They didn't become weak. They became invisible. They turned their strength inward. Instead of expanding, they hid it in the moon, in the dark, in silence. They've been watching, Trask added, all this time. Rixer looked up. Yes, watching, waiting, measuring. A deep pause filled the room. Earth knew this day would come, Rixer finally said. That one day, the Council or another empire would come sniffing around. That someone would poke too deep. So they created a message. A trap not to kill us, but to teach us. Belf added, to remind the stars who they really are. Rixer stood. Not a death world. Not a rogue planet, but something else entirely. He tapped the glass in front of him. They are legacy. Back on Earth, high above the Pacific Ocean, deep within the shadows of the black warship, now resting in low orbit, the human commander stood in front of a silent group of generals. A holomap displayed the Careth retreating into hyperspace. Do you think they understood? One general asked. The commander nodded. Yes, their fear was real, but their respect. That will spread. Should we contact the Council? No, the commander replied. Let them come, one by one, if they must. Each time they will see, and each time we will remind them. What if they don't listen? The commander looked out the ships. Viewport at the stars. They will. Or they'll vanish like the others who didn't. Back aboard the Careth, Rixer called the ship to order. All crew report. Log our findings. This information will go straight to the top of the Council. Trask asked carefully, do you think they'll believe us? They'll have no choice, Rixer said, because Earth will no longer remain silent. Belf lowered his voice. Commander, what if we were never meant to leave? Rixer looked back at him and spoke firmly. We left because they allowed us to. Asterisk the Galactic Council chamber buzzed with tension. Representatives from a dozen star empires had gathered in panic. Word of the Careth's report had spread like wildfire. The recording of the Earth transmission, though short, was already causing fear in every corner of known space. No one had expected Earth, a small, quiet world, to become the center of galactic attention. They had called it Defenseless. Now they called it something else. They didn't fire a single shot, a scaled delegate from the Zarn Empire said. And yet, we all feel like we've been defeated. A deep-voiced ambassador from the Raul sector leaned forward. That's not fear, that's understanding. Earth didn't defend itself. It simply showed us what would happen if we forced its hand. Another council member asked, "Do we respond? Should we investigate further?" The room went silent. They had all seen the same data. Cloaked fleets, vanishing probes, the warship behind the moon, and that message that echoed across systems without any traceable signal. The silence is our defense. They knew Earth wasn't just powerful dot, it was untouchable. Meanwhile, aboard the Careth, Commander Rixer stood in front of a projection table as the ship floated near the edge of safe space. He had received a private message, encrypted and ancient dotted. Was from a human source. The message said nothing, but inside the file was a Council Battle Map 1 that hadn't been seen in 600 years. It showed positions of every Empire's fleet, vulnerabilities, fuel lines, and secret jump routes. Where did this come from? Trask asked, shocked. They knew our history, Belf muttered. They know our present, and now, they're showing us they know our future. Rixer said nothing. His mind raced. They're everywhere, he finally said. And we never noticed. Commander, Belf said slowly, what if Earth doesn't just have ships and weapons hidden? What if they have people among us? Spies, operatives, observers, living quietly on council worlds for decades. Rixer clenched his jaw. That's why they're untouchable. Not just because of power, but because they've already woven themselves into the galaxy's systems. Trask added, it's like they planned every possible outcome and waited for someone foolish enough to test them. Rixer turned to the crew. We were lucky. They showed us mercy. They gave us a chance to understand. But will the rest of the galaxy listen? Belf asked. Rixer looked toward the stars. No, he said. They won't. Not at first. Back on Earth, in a hidden base beneath Antarctica, human leaders watched the galaxy's response unfold. Every council channel had gone quiet. Spy reports confirmed growing fear. Diplomatic ships were rerouting. Trade networks were being restructured away from soul space. Earth's quiet return had triggered something ancient, something that had slept for too long. They've started calling us the Untouchables. One general said with a small smile. We didn't earn that name, replied the Supreme Commander. We built it. She tapped a display screen. Dozens of Terran warships, still cloaked, patrolled the borders of Earth's influence. They're going to come back, the general warned. Maybe not the Zhurans, but someone with a fleet. Maybe with fear, or with arrogance. And we'll show them, the Supreme Commander said softly, why legends are best left undisturbed. On the Careth, the final report was sent. A personal message from Commander Rixer, directly to the Council. Earth is not a threat to the galaxy, but if you threaten it, you will not get war. You will get silence. And in that silence, everything you are will disappear. He didn't sign it. He didn't need to. Earth had already said enough, and the galaxy was now listening. Asterisk. A cold mist drifted through the halls of the Galactic Council. Panic had spread quietly, but deeply. No ships had launched from Earth. No demands had been made. No threats. No treaties. No armies knocking on their gates. But every leader, every commander, Every ruler of every star-spanning empire now knew the same chilling truth. Earth didn't need to speak. It simply had to exist. And that was enough to terrify them. Weeks had passed since the Kareth returned. Commander Rixer's report had been copied, translated, and debated behind sealed doors. But no one dared question it. The evidence was clear. Earth was not to be touched. Still, rumors whispered in the dark halls of war rooms. A growing empire, the Tyrix Dominion, had ignored the warning. Proud, violent, hungry for power. They claimed Earth's silence was a bluff, that the Terrans were ghosts hiding behind old tricks. They sent 9 dreadnoughts, cloaked, armed, and ready. They never arrived. The Council received a message exactly 36 hours later. A single word, returned. No image, no voice, just that one word. Then, quietly, the 9 dreadnoughts drifted back into Council space. Not flying, dragged. Scarred, cut open, empty. No crew, no systems, no signs of life. Just broken metal hulks floating in space. Each one had a single phrase burned into the outer hull. You were warned. Far away, back on Earth, deep beneath the ocean floor, in the hidden Terran Core Defense Center, the Supreme Commander stood before a wide glass panel. She looked down at Earth's crust, where ancient machines pulsed like sleeping giants. Beside her, a young officer asked carefully, "Why did we send the ships back?" She didn't look away from the glowing machines. "We don't need war to prove our strength," she replied softly. "We need memory." The officer blinked. "Memory," she nodded. "They need to remember what we are, what we've always been. If we strike too hard, they'll forget in fear. But if we let them touch the fire and love, they'll carry the warning to others." Back in Council space, the message had worked. Entire sectors shifted trade routes away from Earth's territory. Missions were canceled. Spy satellites were pulled back. For the first time in known galactic history, a single planet had redrawn the map without launching a single invasion. Rixer stood once again before the Council, asked to answer the same question one final time. "Do you believe Earth poses a threat to us?" Rixer's answer was calm. "No, Earth is not a threat, unless we become one to them." He stepped forward, eyes firm. "And if we ever forget that, they will remind us." Far above Earth, inside the black warship known only as Vigil, the Terran commander stood alone in a quiet control room. A new file blinked on the screen. Another probe from a distant empire had entered Sol space. It vanished within minutes. But instead of destruction, the probe was returned, upgraded, clean, polished, and broadcasting a soft message. "We saw you. We could have erased you. Instead, we gave you a gift. Now leave and remember, Earth is not empty. It is waiting." For the next century, no ships entered Earth space again. No fleet dared. No empire tested the silence. Because now, across the galaxy, a story was told to every generation of rulers, soldiers, and explorers. A story of a blue planet that looked defenseless, of moons that were machines, of ships that phased through matter, of warriors who smiled before vanishing into the dark, and of a simple phrase whispered in every shadowed corridor: "You were warned."